Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, Brothers in Arms, World of Warships, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at a game here in our community replay series from Anlei of the EU clan TWA. He's playing by himself on Greece, and he's sailing in the Tier 10 Japanese battleship, the Yamato. So if you'd like to send a replay into us, please send it to BIAworldofwarships, all lowercase, at gmail.com. Please include the replay file, post-game screenshots if you have them, a brief description of the battle, and then if you'd like myself or put into the commentary, you can request for that too. So, Anlei does not send me too many replays, but when he does, they are almost always absolutely ridiculous, and this one is no exception. Back in February, I believe, he sent me a replay which was, at the time, the EU damage record in the Moskva, so if you'd like to check out that epic game from him, you can check it out. The link is in the description below. But this one, in my opinion, I think is just slightly better. Basically, his team is going to get behind really big early. He's not going to have the best positioning or the best start to the game, but then things are going to get turned on their head really quickly, and it is going to become a full-on craziness that's going to transpire. So definitely stick around. This replay is absolutely preposterous, and I hope you guys enjoy this one as much as I certainly did recording it for the first time. I had a few jaw-dropping moments, that's for sure. But unfortunately, the first salvo does nothing, and the jaw does not drop. A miss on that Neptune who was moving in towards the A cap. Now you can see that Anlei does have 14.1 kilometers worth of stealth, so he's not running the full concealment. I'd imagine that he probably has the legendary mod on, which of course gives you the crazy accuracy that the Yamato, not that it needs it, but it makes this ship that much more dangerous. It has the biggest guns in the game, 461 millimeters, 18.1 inches. These things hit very hard. They overmatch a lot of the armor that you're going to face in this game, especially the 32 millimeter threshold. And when they do hit, man, does it hurt. The ship is not that fast. The AA isn't really that great. The armor is thick, but the citadel is very large. You know, there's not a whole lot going for it else. But this is one of the battleships in the game that, as long as the guns are top tier, all of the other, I guess, secondary stats can be a little mediocre or not that great. And it doesn't really matter because the guns are just so good at their job that it makes up for a lot of the ship's weaknesses. Now, his positioning right now at the start of the game is not that bad. Sitting well to the south of the A cap, he does have his spotting aircraft up, trying to take some pot shots at the enemy battleships that are moving in. You can see right there on that enemy Kremlin, one pen, two over penetrations, a lot of the shells on target, even from extreme ranges that the Yamato is able to engage out to. So you're going to see at various points throughout this replay just some big salvos. And again, that's what these guns are there for. His team is deploying in a rather interesting manner. There's a quartet of ships, including Anlei over here on the western side. There's the Musashi chilling down in H5, and then basically the rest of his teams, short of the carrier, are all over at the D cap. So I'm not 100% sure about this deployment. The enemy team has pushed one of their cruisers onto the B cap, and they will be able to get that for their team, so they're going to start ticking up the points. 2 caps to 1 here. Anlei's next shot going down range at the enemy Neptune. The shells look good, but unfortunately the salvo was just a touch too high. I will speak from experience. Sometimes with the spot plane, my big miss is a little bit long because obviously the angle that you're viewing the enemy ship changes, and sometimes it can be a little difficult to get that salvo on target. So we'll have to see how his next salvo, his follow-up one, is going to be here on the Neptune. Bang Bang Bum Bum, that's an interesting name. His next salvo going down range. Unfortunately, the Neptune did manage to torpedo the Bourgogne, which is rather embarrassing to say the least. And Anlei's next salvo is another miss. So a few salvos so far, about 4 minutes into the game, haven't really dealt that much damage. And then because, well, players in this game are, we're not going to go there. The Zal dies in the middle of the A cap, where the Bourgogne died as well. So unfortunately, right now, his team is down 2 ships to 0 for the enemy team. And again, they have the 2-1 cap lead. So things are not looking good, but trust me, it's going to be looking a lot worse before things do get better. He is shooting out to pretty extreme range for a Yamato, 26.4 kilometers. Unfortunately, at this range, even if the aim is good, ships can move forward relatively quickly, and that salvo falls by the wayside on the stern of the ship. So Still, yet to land a really big meaty salvo. The accuracy has not been the best. I do occasionally struggle with my long-range accuracy, so I can relate here. This next one looks okay, maybe hits on the bow, and there we go. The first good salvo of the game for 9,700 damage on the enemy Jean Bart. So at this point, I don't know if Anlei was thinking to himself, well, this game is already a lost cause, I'm just going to start pushing in willy-nilly to the A cap. But as he's doing so, you can see that the enemy Moskva that did push into the B cap is also playing like a potato and is backing up full broadside, completely oblivious that there is a Yamato and a Musashi on his flank. And you can see that that legendary mod accuracy is really coming into play. The shell's fallen on the target, and there we go. The first mega salvo of the game, double Citadel and change, devastating strike on that tier 10 Soviet large cruiser, and he's up to 51,000 points of damage. So the Moskva, well, he gets exactly what he deserves, and that is where these Yamato guns really do shine. Now, he has moved up into a pretty decent position. He's not in a spot where all of those battleships are not able to get shells over the island in front of him, but at least he is nose in, so he doesn't have to worry too much about those guys getting some big salvos. But of course, that enemy Yamato that he just shot at is taking a pot shot his way, so he does have to move forward a little bit as the shells are coming in on his position. It appears that they might fall a little bit behind, and that is exactly what happens, so it's a good thing that he decided to move. But because he had to move to try to dodge the Yamato salvo, now he is running headfirst into at least 3 enemy ships with a destroyer, the Fletcher, last spotted to the east of the A cap. So he's going to have to be very delicate around, because the Yamato is not really that good of a close quarter fighting ship. The only chance that you're going to have consistent results is that if you're very consistently able to bring your Yamato into point blank range from an angle that the enemy is not expecting. But if they know that you're there, it doesn't really matter what is opposing you. A Kremlin can rush around and have a good chance of beating you. A Montana, a Kurfürst, a Conqueror, even the lower tier battleships. The Yamato has that infamous cheek. The Citadel is above the water in that area, and it makes angling at point blank range really difficult. And when you combine it with the terrible turret traverse, it's very, very hard to outplay your opponent by maneuvering in these close quarter spaces. So obviously he's kind of hit the brakes here. He doesn't really want to go rushing around the corner, but the enemy team does have 3 ships destroyed to 1, and they have almost a 300-point lead at this juncture of the game. And now, unfortunately, the Neptune is going to be getting some spotting on him as well. So I'd imagine that maybe the Kremlin or the Jean Bart or maybe the Fletcher are also going to try to be rather aggressive against Anlei in this position that he's in, but he realizes the danger and he really doesn't want to continue pushing. So as a couple shells do land on the Neptune, he's going to continue to back up. But now the enemy team is really starting to pull away. They have over 400-point lead, and that Fletcher is going to cap the A cap here really quickly. And the Jean Bart is actually doing some pretty decent damage to him. Not at the kind of angle that he's going to get Citadels, but those 2 salvos from that guy have dealt a little over 17,000 points of damage. So at this point, I think Anlei was thinking to himself, you know what, our team's going to lose this game. It doesn't matter. Let's just push forward and see what I can do. And whenever I die is whenever I die. So he does have his guns turned to the right against the Fletcher, but unfortunately that guy does go undetected. However, because of torpedo RNG, he doesn't really have to dodge that much from the Neptune's single-fire torpedoes that were coming downrange at him. And you can also see, to top all things off, the Seattle is running away at the G1 grid square. So he's got a Neptune into the front, a Kremlin slightly off to his right side, a Jean Bart about off to his right side, and the Fletcher, who could be coming around the corner at any moment. So things are looking absolutely awful. Let's see what happens next. So Lord Fiasco, I think Fiasco is coming around the corner here in the Kremlin. The Kremlin does have a rather easy-to-reach Citadel, and stage 1 of the absolute ridiculousness is about to happen. For some reason, the Kremlin's like, hey bro, I'm going to go full broadside at point-blank range. What's the worst thing that can happen? Now, Anlei did use his damage control right there to make sure that he could get both of his turrets firing, because he really wanted to go for the full RKO right there. Unfortunately, only 3 Citadels on the Kremlin, and now he has to get moving forward quickly, because if he doesn't, the Kremlin will be able to get a nice shot into his very exposed Citadel at this point. So his only good play right now is to speed forward as quickly as possible. The Kremlin screwed that up because he did not have his turrets pre-turned at Anlei's location, so he is able to move forward and not have the opportunity to get blapped. But then the enemy Jean Bart also potatoes, and trust me, for these monster games, a lot of BS has to happen. The Jean Bart decided, nah brah, the Kremlin's got this, I'm not going to worry about it, I'm just going to continue to go after the Seattle and the Shokaku. So now Anlei is actually angled, as he does 10k to the Neptune, to the Kremlin, who has now beached himself and is trying to get himself in a position where he can use all of his firepower. So he's relatively angled to that Kremlin, which is okay. There's also Fletcher torpedoes coming in, but because he sped up, the Fletcher misaimed a little bit, and those torpedoes are going to go off to the stern of his ship. The Neptune is trying to rush him down, so he gets his rear turrets in action. One shell ricochets, which is very unfortunate. He absolutely needs to get the kill here, or he is not going to live, and he gets exactly that with the second dev strike of the game on the enemy Neptune. The Fletcher decides to open up on him, so he's now using his damage control, or not his damage control, his repair party. You can see that he also pulls the brakes on the Neptune's torpedoes, so he's able to dodge those. He's now getting his guns ready to go on this Fletcher. For some reason, the Fletcher is within his secondary range as well, and he's also got his main battery guns reloaded and ready to go too. The two forward turrets really going to need a big hit here to speed up this engagement, and he gets exactly that. 5 overpens, 7,300 points of damage. He is on fire, but he gets the kill, and it doesn't appear that that Fletcher got a good enough angle to drop his torpedoes, but you can see that Anlei has to turn to his right just in case that inevitability happens. Now he has to get these guns ready to go on this Kremlin before his next shots are reloaded, so he is making a bit of a calculated risk on that rear turret, but the Kremlin does not citadel him. He gets all of his firepower to bear, and he blows up that Soviet battleship for his 4th frag of the game. If you've lost track of the damage counter, he's up to 188,000. He is burning at 15k health, and there are Lexington torpedo bombers coming in on his location. But what was literally looking like an absolutely guaranteed dead scenario has now been brought back to a relatively decent degree. He gets his next salvo against the Jean Bart. You can see that the enemy Yamato that is just on the northeast side of the A cap is getting in, but he manages to get 3 pens on that Jean Bart, and he picks up his Kraken Unleashed, dealing 11,000 damage. He's down to 14,000 at this point, but he has to keep driving around the corner here to try to get his guns ready to go on the enemy Yamato, who it appears is showing enough of a broadside to be able to get hit in the citadel, the exposed part. You can see that he's able to shoot his forward turrets before that indicator goes away. Unfortunately, the RNG on that first salvo is a little bad. The 2 shells go high. The second one coming in gets the citadel. He picks up the high caliber and the Confederate. Unfortunately, only 4,800 points of damage right there. One of those pens dealt 0 damage, and he does not pick up his 6th frag of the game. But now, all of a sudden, all of the threats in his immediate vicinity are dead. And looky here, the enemy Lexington is within spotting range. Absolutely ridiculous sequence right there. I don't even know how he managed to do that. I know that the enemy team kind of potatoed a little bit, but when you're going on like a 1v4 and you have no support, you don't expect to live. Big salvo on the Lexington, 25,000 and change, and now he has a full health carrier to farm, which is one of the most just, just trying to keep up with everything. I'm kind of losing track of my thoughts here. Just absolutely preposterous scenario that he got himself into, and he managed to get out with all of the kills except for the Yamato. And just, I mean, if this game ended right now, the result that he has is just incredible, but there's still plenty of time left. It is a 6 versus 3, but the enemy team still has the lead. So, of course, he does have to get this carrier kill. A nice little job right there, dodging the torpedo attack. Yes, just dodge. I know, it's the totally right thing to do. Carriers are not in a bad state at all. Manages to dodge the torpedo attack, but there's going to be no more planes coming from that guy as he gets a Citadel and picks up his 6th frag of the game on that Tier 8 American aircraft carrier. And now he's trying to swing his guns back to the right to deal with the last 2 ships that are alive in the Alaska and the Zhao. So, yeah. That sequence. He even shot down 25 planes and had 71 secondary hits. Just absolutely bananas. I mean, I've had some really good games in the Yami. I've seen some really good replays on Panzernacker's channel. I've had replays shared to me by friends, but that whole sequence was just absolutely crazy. And the worst part of it is, if that Kremlin was angled a little better and had his turrets pre-aimed on that location, this replay wouldn't have been possible. But the thing about good players is this. So, as much as monster replays are dependent on your team sucking, but also the enemy team sucking really bad too, good players are able to take advantage of mistakes when they happen. That Kremlin made a huge mistake, again, didn't want to angle, didn't have his turrets pre-turned, and Anlei was able to make him pay, and it pretty much caught the rest of the enemy team flat-footed because they assumed, I would imagine, that the Kremlin was going to get that kill. But because he didn't, all of a sudden, all those other guys are in positions where they're not able to get the RKO shot on Anlei, and then he ended up making them all pay for it. So you can see how one small mistake by that enemy Kremlin literally cost the enemy team 4 ships over there, because the Fletcher wasn't expecting him to live, I'd imagine. I don't think the Neptune expected him to live and get close enough to get assured detection on him. I mean, the Jean Bart didn't even pay attention. He's like, yeah, it's good. He's going to die. No big deal. So you could just see here, the slightest mistake, make the enemy team get punished for it, and this is the profit that you can get. And you'd think that, oh man, I could have done that. Well, when it comes to these monster replays, the good players are able to take advantage of it because map positioning and awareness and just knowing what their ship can and can't do. And while that situation was looking very hairy and very dicey, I mean, the result speaks for itself. And there's still 2 ships left. His team does have a 3-4 cap lead. However, they only have about a 50-point lead in total, so they do need to get these 2 kills to ensure the victory here. He does have his spotting aircraft up, taking a shot at 22 kilometers-ish against the enemy Alaska. You can see the salvo is going down range. Even at these kinds of distances, the shells do still take a little while to get there. The aim looks pretty okay. Unfortunately, just a tad short, but still 6,300 points of damage dealt to that American cruiser. So he's at 289K, and this is definitely within the realm of a 300,000 damage battle here. He's just got to make these next couple shots count. The next salvo going down range, that Alaska is turning full broadside, apparently trying to dodge the torps or something like that, and it appears, no, their salvo is just a little bit short, unfortunately. Like I mentioned at the start of the replay, some of his long-range accuracy is a little poor in this particular replay, so I was kind of surprised to see a lot of these long-range salvos kind of missed the target. The Alaska does kill the Minotaur, so the enemy team has brought it back from a 6 versus 2 to a 4 versus 2. Anlei's next salvo going down range at the Zhao. The Zhao does turn in, but it doesn't matter. 16,000 points of damage with that glorious athwart ship Citadel just in front of the A turret on that Japanese cruiser. So he has hit the 300k damage threshold, which is obviously fantastic. Anytime you can reach 300k, that is awesome sauce indeed. Now the Zhao is making the turn of death at 15.6 kilometers. He shoots undetected. The salvo looks great, just a tiny bit short with the first salvo from the A turret, but still another big meaty salvo on that Japanese cruiser for over 22,000 points of damage. So now his damage has spiked up to 328,000. I mean, what else really is there to say about this? He still has a heal left, so there's really no chance of him dying in this situation, and hopefully he'll be able to add another frag or 2 to the end of this game. He's going to get, I guess, somewhat of a snapshot off on this Alaska because the Yamato's turrets do turn so slowly. He had to get that shot off really quick. Just enough, I guess, velocity for his shells to reach over the island and dip down and hit the superstructure of the Alaska, so that's all great. So he picks up his 7th frag of the game, and now hopefully he'll be able to get the killing blow here on the Zhao, and it appears that the Zhao is making the turn of death once again. He's only on 1,000 hit points, so just 1 over penetration will do. It appears that the Zhao is turning back into the right, but it won't matter. 1 shell goes through his ship. No! Gotcha. Never mind. Okay, you know what? I actually thought that was the end of the replay. That was kind of embarrassing. Sorry about that. I thought it was that salvo, so unfortunately, no. He's going to have to wait here a little bit for this next kill, potentially. He's pinging the minimap. Hey, guys, I need intelligence data. I hate those people that do that. Let's be honest. That it's annoying. Come on, Anlei. Get your act together, bro. He's trying to get kill number 8 here. The Zhao comes around the corner, gets spotted by the dive bombers. He has to get his salvo off really quickly to try to secure this frag. Shell's going down range. The other guy missed. He picks up his 8th kill, and that ends the game here on Greece. Alrighty, guys, taking a look at the post-battle results, 770,000 credits received, 23,000 total experience. This was certainly the first win of the day. Confederate, 2 dev strikes, Dreadnought, Kraken Unleashed, and High Caliber, 330,000 points of damage off of only 84 shell hits, 25 planes shot down, 2/3 of the enemy team destroyed with 8 frags, 12 citadels, and 71 secondary hits. Taking a look at the team score, 3,837 base XP. That is, simply put, fucking ridiculous. Taking a look at the detailed report, 312k with the AP, 10k with the secondaries, 7k with the fires that were set. 3.2 million potential damage. That is also exceptionally well, too. And we could thank good old Lord Fiesco for supplying this ridiculous replay because he got outplayed because he made a mistake. And then Anlei was able to just completely obliterate the rest of the enemy team that was there and then finish off the game in style. So, Mr. Tung, thanks for sending me the replay. It's always a pleasure to feature your content because I know it's going to be fantastic, and I hope all you guys watching out there enjoyed this one as much as I did. So, with that being said, this is Sneaky Snake for BIA World of Warships signing off. Guys and gals, as always, have a great day.